Shri Bhagavanuvacha Ashochanan Prajnavadamsha Bhashase Gatasu Angatasunshya Nanu Shochanti Panditaha. The Lord Krishna said, Arjun, you grieve for those who should not be grieved at, yet speak as if a man of wisdom. The wise grieve neither for the living nor for the dead. A man is grieved when he classifies objects and persons into two divisions. One, his own, and the other one not his own, such as our relative and not our relatives, our group and not our group, or our stage of life and not our stage of life, our followers and not our followers. We have a sense of mine, attachment, love and desire for those who we regard as ours. Through these, a sense of mine and desire, faults such as grief, worry, fear, agitation, commotion and strain, etc. arise. The root of all faults is a sense of mine and desire, and that is a rule. At the beginning of the Gita, Dhritarashtra asked, "What did my sons and sons of Pandu do?" It shows his partiality towards his own sons and attachment for them. Arjuna also developed the same attachment, but he had no partiality. He was impartial, and so he uses the term seeing all these relations. And how can we, by killing our own relatives, be happy? In both these expressions, he is talking about his relatives on both sides, not only relatives on one side, which is his side. In the end, Lord Krishna declares that there is no justification for Arjuna to grieve, and he should take refuge in the Lord and not grieve. The reason is that dependence on the world leads to grief, while supreme or exclusive devotion to the Lord leads to the state which is free from faults such as grief, worry, and any other concerns. Ashochanan Anvashochastvam, meaning there are two things in the world, real and unreal, the soul and the body. Both of these are not to be grieved at, as the real is imperishable and therefore should not be grieved at, and the unreal is bound to perish, as it is perishing every moment, so it should not be grieved for either. It means that these are grieved at only because of ignorance or lack of discrimination. Whatever circumstances in the form of birth, death, profit, loss, a man finds himself in are result of his fate, his previous actions. It is a sheer ignorance to feel happy or sad in those favorable or unfavorable circumstances, because these are transient and are passing. Prajnavadamscha bhashase. Hey Arjun, on one hand you speak words of wisdom, but on the other hand you grieve, and it shows that actually you are not wise, because the wise do not grieve for anyone. Gatasun angatasunshcha nanu shochanti panditaha. It is also a great mistake to grieve for those who are dead, because they would be experiencing torture in their present state if their loved ones grieve for them. Similarly, we should not grieve or worry for those who are living, because grief, worry does not help them in any ways. We should rather care for them and help them. Instead of grieving for those who are dead, we should offer traditional rituals to respect them as our duty. Similarly, we should make arrangements to care for those who are living. So, we should give a serious thought to our duty and responsibility rather than worry or grieve, as both destroy the power of thinking. Nanu shochanti panditaha. Discrimination between the real and the unreal is called panda, the wisdom, and one who has developed that discrimination, the wisdom, is known as pandit, the wise. Such wise men do not grieve because they can discriminate between the real and the unreal, the imperishable self, the soul, and the perishable body. Grief arises only when the unreal is accepted as real, that is, when there is a desire to maintain the body forever. For the real, there is no grief or worry at all. There is one division of the body called sharir, while other division is of the self, which is shariri. Both have no relationship at all with each other. Both are quite different in nature. One is insentient, which is unconscious, while the other is sentient, conscious. One is perishable, while the other is imperishable. One is mutable, while the other is immutable. One is constantly changing, while the other remains the same for time immemorial. The Gospel of the Gita begins with the discrimination between the body and the self, or the body and the Atma, the soul. Salvation can only be attained by discriminating the self from the body. So long as a man holds I am body, he may listen to Gospels, may preach Gospels to others, may practice spiritual discipline, but salvation is not possible. It is a blunder to accept or assume a thing which is not our own as our own, and to disown a thing which is our own as not our own. Only the thing which may ever live with us and with which we may ever live can be our own. The body, from that perspective, doesn't or never stays with us even for a moment, while the God, the Supreme Conscious, lives with us forever. The reason is that the body belongs to the class or category of the material world, while the self, the soul, belongs to the class or category of God or divine. Therefore, it is the greatest blunder to assume the body as one's own and not to assume the God or the divine as our own. You, the self, are a resident of the divine world, while the body is a resident of the material world. You are a fragment of God, the divine, while the body is a fragment of Prakriti, the nature. You always live in immortality, while the body ever lives in mortality. By the decay and death of the body, you don't decay and die in the least. Therefore, you shouldn't be obsessed by the grief, worry, and the fear. When we carefully reflect on the nature of the body and the nature of the self, we clearly see that the two are completely different. And even when we don't reflect, even then the body and the self remain different in their true nature. The difference is this: reflection does not change reality, it only destroys the striver's delusion about the reality. The body remains the body, the self remains the self, whether we think about it or not. But when we do reflect, when we do think, our misunderstanding disappears and human life becomes meaningful by fulfilling its highest aim. In human life, we have the special capacity called vivek, discrimination. This power to discriminate, I am not the body, is possibly only in the human birth. Animals cannot do this. The feeling of I and mine toward the body is not the result of true human understanding. It is the product of Pashu Buddhi, the intellect of an animal. It is instinctive, mechanical, and unexamined. True human intellect begins only when one uses discrimination to recognize that I am not this body. This is the beginning of Gita's message.